Welcome back to AV Veterans Talk. We're continuing our conversation with this week's guests, Dennis Anderson and Juan Blanco. So we're here talking with Juan and Dennis. Veterans that aren't that would be watching this and want to go over there on a Tuesday morning.
Tuesday morning.
Tuesday morning.
Every Tuesday morning.
You start at 7 o'clock.
7 a.m. 7 to 9. 8 o'clock we have the announcements, and I'm pleased to say we have individuals that come in that really care about veterans to speak on issues. We've had the director from the Bakersfield Cemetery come in to speak on the things that a veteran is entitled to when they pass away. And a lot of times we don't know these things. So she came in, she gave us a speech, and she's going to come back again in the fall, closer to our event, and revisit the items that the National Cemetery can provide for veterans. Yeah. You were there that day, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And some of the other speakers that come in at 8 o'clock, once again, Dennis, you said that the representatives from Steve Knight's office and probably from the state.
There will be legislation in play that we really do better when you do send the emails or send the calls to the lawmaker, because it will be a law that's in motion. Knight's been author of some PTSD legislation that was significant, and then the other, the unemployed insurance for older veterans, also in-home assistance for older veterans. These are important, particularly it's interesting, they're a fragile or vulnerable population, as are others, but they are also the ones that there is actually a national consensus that their debts have already been paid.
Yes.
So these are obligations that do need to be met. Before we talk about the military ball, I just wanted the Veterans Ball, Veterans Ball. Before we talk about the Veterans Ball for a minute, I just wanted to mention a couple of the Korea vets last night at the dinner. Ralph Bozigian was in the Navy. City manager Mark Bozigian's father, and he was in the Navy off the coast of Vietnam, or off the coast of Korea.
You're close.
And close, close so far. And also Ralph Wilson, who was a Marine Staff Sergeant. He got there after Chosin Reservoir, but he was on what was called the main line of resistance, places like Pork Chop Hill. So there was some pretty distinguished company in there last night.
It was, and it's nice to walk in there, and boy, I tell you what, you just feel it when you walk into the room, the presence there. And I miss a lot of our Korean vets that can't get around. They have Warfield, oh gosh, I always think back to our buddy Carl Barnes. That were no longer with us. Some of those guys that served over there.
Carl Barnes flew a C-47 in for resupply at Chosin, and when they were taking ground fire, taking off, he had hand grenades to drop out of the cockpit while they were taking fire.
Yeah.
So these were kind of epic things. A passed away friend, Lee Ballinger, was an L.A. Sheriff's lieutenant here in Lancaster, but he also was a significant Korea War historian. He wrote 2 books on it. One was called The Outpost War. And Lee said, the thing to really understand is that Korean War veterans, many of them were World War II veterans.
Yes.
The other part of it was that the Korea War happened only 5 years after World War II. He said we were really an extension of the World War II generation. It sort of reflected the sensibility of that time much more.
Yeah. I think back, as a historian, and it was the crossroads war between Vietnam and because you had a different mindset change in there. I think of Gabby Gabreski, the World War II fighter ace from Europe that was shot down in Stalag, and then he's flying combat in F-86s over in Korea. It was just an extension. They continued on, Mahurin and those guys, and but then you had the young guys coming up like Robin Olds, commanded in Vietnam, and a lot of the tactics in Vietnam and stuff came from a lot of those old hardliners from Korea that learned how to fight a new war in a new manner. So just incredible history there. And people that when you walk around in town, you still will see the guys with the Korean War veteran hats on.
Yep.
You know, even our mayor of Mint, how do we say that? Henry Hertz
Yes.
was
emeritus. Yes.
emeritus, was a Korean War veteran. So they're still out there amongst us, and of course they deserve that thanks just like any other veteran. So we see them in the checkout lines, whether at the stores or whatever. You know, it's a big handshake needs to go out to them, and a hug and a thank you. So
Well, that's one of the things about Coffee for Vets,
Mhm.
because the Korean War era veteran, the Vietnam War era veteran, and the Cold War era veterans, they're a forgotten breed.
yeah, they are.
I mean, we already know that the Vietnam War era veterans came back to a very unpleasant welcome. Korean War vets were just forgotten totally.
Yeah.
So we're here to lift their spirits, to say you're not forgotten. We appreciate all that you've done. I mean, because you went out to keep our country free for what we do now today. So that's the real basis for what we do there.
And we also have some younger veterans who come in from the 9/11,
Sure.
and they are very welcome.
Yeah. So we're going to take our last break here. So if we come back, we'll finish this up. We'll wrap up. We'll talk about the military ball.
Veterans Ball.
Veterans Ball. Military Ball. Veterans Ball. And we'll clean it up here and stuff and enjoy another day in a hot
we'll
animal
clean it
town.
up.
We'll clean it up right here. So anyway, we'll be right back here at AV Veterans Talk. I'm Bob Alvis, and thanks for joining us for this segment of AV Veterans Talk.